Hey everybody, and welcome to our Greene Acres. Today's video is going to be 7 ways of how we can upcycle some vintage windows. There is going to be some windows that I have done in previous videos, but these are highly requested videos, so now we've got them all in one video. I've also got a couple of new projects in here, so I hope y'all enjoy it and get a lot of ideas and inspiration. Now I've got this window right here that's got 6 panes in it. It will make a beautiful piece to do with a large piece of decoupage paper. So I cleaned it really well, then I'm going to go over the back and I'm going to give it a couple layers of some white spray paint. Once the paint was dry, I brought it in. This is the large sheet of decoupage paper that I'm going to use on it, and I'm just going to go around and score with my fingernails where I want the panels to be. Now to work on my window, once my paint dried on the back, I brought it inside and I'm going to work in sections. But I'm taking that beautiful piece of decoupage paper that I have, and a full sheet will work for my window. I just had to make sure that I planned it out and I grouped it the way that it would fit across the whole window, and one sheet worked. Now I'm just going to use again the DIY liquid patina, and y'all know I like to work in sections when I'm applying my decoupage paper. That way I can roll it and get it applied and get it rolled out really well and smooth out as many of the wrinkles and the air bubbles as I can. And as you can see, I go through each pane of the window and I work on each section separately and just get each one applied. Now I love to use a sponge brush for this process. To me, I just get better control of it, and then that way once I get the paper applied, I can also go across the top of it and apply it and seal it really well across the top. I picked up this window at a yard sale, and I think I paid a couple of dollars for it. A lot of times you can find old windows very inexpensive. So, and a lot of times they'll be at yard sales, and sometimes you can find them at antique stores at a really good price. So I'm going to paint the windows and I'm going to paint the back, because the front I'm going to add some transfers too. So that is what it looks like once I got several layers on the back where I had full coverage, and you can also go over it with spray paint. Now I'm going to use this beautiful transfer, and I have this link to my Amazon store. It'll either be under the transfer category or the stencils. I'm in the process of having a whole category for transfers and getting them out of the stencil section. But y'all, this just screams me. I love it. So it's got a beautiful rose floral design on it. It's got some French wording. So in this transfer right here is really easy to use because it's got really good grid marks to where you can line it up, and you can also cut it, and you can cut it straight so you can line it up. So it's perfect for this project. Now you can also go over the center of the window with a transfer, but I chose to cut my transfers down the middle, down those little grid lines, and then just do each pane separately. And that's what I did, and I just went really slow, and I did one section at a time. And you can see I always put my transfers down with using some painter's tape once I get them positioned, and then that way that painter's tape will hold your transfer down, so when you remove the white backing, it will stay in place. And that was all I did, and you just go over it with your little scraper tool that they give you, and then you just work your way around. And so I just go to the next side. I lined up my transfer on the other side, and then I did the same thing. I just applied it to the front of the window, and then you want to go over it with a clear backing just to burnish it to make sure you've got a good adhesion and everything is made good contact. And applying to glass with the transfer to me was really easy. Like I say, just kind of work slow and in sections, And I don't know, this project maybe took me maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes. So, and then when I got to the bottom, I did the same thing. I just kind of lined it up on each side. And this is how I did my painter's tape. I would tape it at the top once I got it positioned, and then I would just remove that that white backing. And once I got done, I went over it really good. I burnished the rest of it, and it's done. So y'all, this is going to make a beautiful piece that I can hang up anywhere in my home. I haven't decided exactly where I want to put it, but I've always wanted to make one of these. So like I say, if you're interested in this beautiful transfer, I'll have this, and there's also some other really pretty ones that I've got in my Amazon store, and I've actually got a couple that I've already purchased, but I just haven't used them yet. So I hope y'all enjoyed this, and you know, like I say, if you see those vintage windows or any kind of window out, pick them up. They make great DIY project pieces.
I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now. I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. I just wanna feel alive. It's just what I do when I'm out, so try not to hold me down. Feel alive when
I'm going to add a transfer to this window. What you want to do is take a window, and I got this at a yard sale for $2, and you want to paint the back of it. So, because we're going to apply transfers to the front, you can paint it on with paintbrush, but in this one, I've spray painted it. And this is the transfer that I'm going to use for it, and I'll have it linked in my Amazon store also. I'm going to use all the sections of it except the one that you see on the right. I'm not going to use it, but I will use it on an upcoming project, so stay tuned. But I'm just going to use the parts that will fit on my window, and I just went and I cut them with a little razor blade where the panes of the window were, and then you will just, you know, I'm just going to work it over the glass. Now, if you want to work it over the window pane and not cut it, you could also do that. So I just lined up each section on my window and went over it with my little scraper and applied it, and it's that easy. And like I say, this is the second window I've done, and if I can find any more, I'm going to do some more. But Amazon has a huge selection of really pretty transfers also, and I have a lot of them linked in my Amazon store. So if you need some transfers, you know, some larger ones, maybe for a window piece or a furniture piece or just a big one to cut apart and use for smaller projects, just make sure to go out and check out my Amazon store, and they'll be under the transfer section.
I was just a little girl when my mama used to say, ooh, happiness requires work every day.
I'm going to take this gorgeous decoupage paper, and I'm going to have it linked down below, but it's called Zara. I've had it for a couple of years, and I did not know exactly what I wanted to put it on, but now I have decided. I have a couple of vintage windows that I got at an antique store, and a few years ago I Mod Podged some cow prints on them. Well, as you can see, over the years, those cow prints have yellowed, and now they need a refresh. This piece of decoupage paper is very large, and that's why I've kept it so long, because I needed the perfect piece to put it on, and this vintage window is going to be perfect. It fits in it really well. So this is more of a thick mesh type decoupage paper. It's not thin, so it actually works really well. But the first thing you want to do is press out any wrinkles, and now I'm going to show you how well it's going to fit in my window. The top and the bottom are going to fit perfect. I am going to have to trim some off the sides, but first I'm going to apply a liberal amount of DIY liquid patina, and as you can see, you always want to start out with a white background, especially if you have a decoupage paper you can see through. It just makes, if you have a white background, it makes your decoupage paper, the design on it, just pop with a white background. Now I'm going to go in, and you want to press it out and work it on your project as best you can, getting out any air bubbles or wrinkles. And I love using a brayer for this technique. Now once I got it laid down as good as I could and as flat as I could, I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to score the edges and make a straight line, and then I'm going to trim that off. Once I got my edges trimmed down, I'm just going to work them down into those sides. just to work them in to where they will lay flat. And I'm just going to keep applying my DIY liquid patina as I need it. And like I say, you want to put liberal amounts on here just to make it stick really good and adhere to your base. Again, I'm just going to roll over it with my brayer and just keep flattening it out and working out those wrinkles. And I'm going to go over now and do the other side. And like I always tell y'all, when you work with decoupage paper, work in sections, and especially when you got a big project like this, do one side, get it down like you want it, and then go over and do the other side. I think this decoupage paper worked out perfect for this vintage window, and I think it looks absolutely beautiful. I love the colors in this, so make sure to go down to my description box. Get this decoupage paper, and especially if you've got some vintage windows or a large project you can put it on, it makes a beautiful design for spring and summer. I had two vintage windows that I put those cow pictures on, but on this one I'm going to use a transfer. Now this is a very large transfer, and I used part of it in a fall DIY project, so I've got some of this transfer left over, and it's going to work perfect on this window. First thing I want to do is I want to prepare it, because I'm going to paint it on the back, and then I'm going to put the transfer on the front of the glass. I'm just using some window cleaner and the razor blade that I got linked in my Amazon store. Once I got the glass clean, then I just sprayed some Rust-Oleum flat white spray paint on the back of the glass. Now you can spray paint the glass, or you can use a brush and brush it on. You will need to put enough layers of paint on that glass that it is not, you can't see through it when you put it up in the light, and it's not transparent. Once you've got a good paint coverage on the back of your glass, now on the front of the glass we want to add our transfer. And like I told y'all, this is part of that really big transfer. I used the top part with a little pickup truck on a fall DIY project, and this didn't fit, but I'm glad it didn't, because it works perfect now to make a really great spring wall decor piece. Since this transfer was so large, I decided to cut it up and work with it in sections. But this is totally up to you. But a lot of times when I have a large transfer, if I cut it in sections and work that way, it's easier. Just make sure you align your sections back together, and that way once you apply them, they will all line up. But to me, like I say, this is the easiest way, but you can do it all in one piece if you prefer. Now transfers apply to glass really well, so this transfer went on really good. And like I say, just be patient with it and just work it in sections, and now you've got a beautiful piece to display for spring and summer.
Hey, I wish you could see yourself just sitting there on my chair. I'm staring at you, you don't even notice. Should've told you straight away, you don't have to be afraid anymore. I know you haven't noticed. You know that I won't let you go. Put your arms around me and I'll let you know how it feels when time.
Let's do another window and use this transfer book. I will have this transfer book linked down below. But look, it comes with 4 sheets of some absolutely beautiful floral designs, and it also has some writing on it. This is going to fit perfect on this window that I have. I always go through my supplies and see what will fit the best. I laid it down and placed out my sheets just to make sure the window would work. This window is going to be perfect, and look at the beautiful designs and colors in these floral transfers. The first thing I want to do is prep my window, and I just went around and removed any excess caulk that was on it. And I'm also going to go around my razor blade, and you want to remove any excess paint that may be on the glass just to make sure that your transfer adheres really well. I go over it with my sander not to really lose any of the rustic character of it, but just to knock off any excess paint chips that may be on it. And I also went around and I removed that metal strip that was on the side. It was really easy to remove with my pliers, and I'm just going to throw this away. Now, when you prepare your window, just make sure you clean it as best you can and get the excess paint off the area where your transfer will go. And then I just take a damp rag, I went over the whole window just to clean it really well and clean the glass really well. Now this window is ready to become something really pretty. I usually spray paint or paint the back of my windows white. On this one, I'm going to use this beautiful sand dollar. This is another really beautiful neutral color by Rust-Oleum. It's one of my favorites. I'm just going to go over the window. I'm going to give it a couple of really good coats on the back side. And you always want to paint your window to where it's not transparent looking. And then once that dried, I brought it inside. Now we're going to take this beautiful book and I'm going to lay out my sheets of how I want this design to go. This is the way that they are originally designed to be, and that, like I say, they give you 4 sheets and you want to use your grid lines on this project. You want to line up your sheets the way you want them to lay, and I'm going to have to work in sections on this window. There is actually 3 sections, and then you've got that window pane. Because what I want to do is I want to cut the designs down to fit on each pane and then to start the design over in the next pane. So what I'm doing is I'm just going around each of my transfer sheets once I get them laid down to where I want them. And then I'm just going around and I'm removing as much of that excess paper around them as I can. That way I'll have them laying really close to the edges of my window. Now here's another little trick. You can fold back a piece of your white backing and go on and secure a piece of your transfer onto your project piece. And then just very carefully lift up the rest and remove the rest of the white backing. Sometimes this technique works really good, and then that way you make sure that you get your transfer laid down correctly. Because sometimes when you're working with a bigger sheet of a transfer, you just don't want it to stick where you don't want it, because once it's laid down sometimes and it sticks to something, you're pretty much committed. So I got that side applied. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to design the second side, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm just lining up my grid marks and I'm lining up these designs. These designs are these graphics are designed to lock together on the bottoms and the tops and on the sides. And when you're working on a large project, especially like this one, or maybe a piece of furniture, this is so helpful. So this is such an easy project to do, but you do want to work in sections. And to me, when I'm working on a large piece like this, to me it's easier when I cut my sheets down. And then that way they're just a little bit more manageable to me. And that's the thing about transfers. You can cut them down as small as you need to and then just line them back up and and apply your next one. And that's what I love about this. So I'm just going to work my way all the way down the window and apply these transfers in strips. And as I go, I'm trying to line up my designs and get them locked into place. And now I'm going to do the same little technique here. I'm just bending back just a little piece of that white backing. I'm lining up my side here where it locks into the other one. I'm going to apply it and then just gently pull back the rest of the white backing and use your stick and just keep applying your transfer. Transfers apply really well to glass, so you don't have to apply a lot of pressure, and these go on really easy. And for time purposes, so you don't have to sit here and watch me do the whole window, because you kind of get the idea. I'm just working in sections like I told y'all and applying each design as I go. Now this is the final one. I'm going to get it applied and then this will be done. I think this design fit perfect on this window. So just to give you an idea, if you ever see a window that's designed kind of like this transfer right here will fit perfect on it. I'm just taking I just cut out a little square of that clear top sheet of the transfer, and I am just going over the whole design, making sure that it is burnished down and it is adhered really well. Now look how beautiful this is. This is a beautiful piece of wall decor now that we can use for spring and summer. Now here's another window I have. I took it out. This one I actually got at the thrift store and I paid $4.99 for it. So you can a lot of times find windows at the thrift store. Here's another beautiful transfer. This is linked to my Amazon store. I just received it and I can't wait to use it. And I thought this will hopefully fit perfect on this window. This comes in 3 long sheets, so this is really easy for you to line it up and apply it. You do have to be careful because this one actually has lines around it which it looks like a frame. So you will have to kind of be careful as you apply it and make sure you get your lines straight. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to prepare my window, and that's what you want to do when you work with old windows. A lot of times people have painted them and caulked them. Just go through, prepare your window, remove whatever you need to remove. If you have some old hardware on it, you can remove that and just go over it, clean it really well, and scrape off maybe any excess paint. This one did have some hardware on the back. I took it off because I may put that back on the front. So again, I'm going to take some Rust-Oleum flat spray paint. You can also brush on paint if you want to do it that way. To me, the spray paint is just a much easier process and it gets on there really easy. You give it a couple of 3 layers, let it dry. Now I brought it back inside and now we're ready to apply this transfer. First thing I did was I laid it out. I got the area that I'm going to need, and you kind of have to judge to make it even on the top and the bottom, just to make sure you've got enough space at the top that, balances out to the space you're going to have at the bottom. So I kind of had to go around, think about it. I'm going to end up cutting off some of the excess paper just to help me get this measured out. And then too, again, I'm going to have to cut this one down into strips because the way this paper is going to lay, it's going to lay across some of those window panes. But I am going to use those center grid lines, and I'm going to use the center of my window, and that's how I'm going to judge how to get it in the center of the window. Once I did that, I just start cutting my sheets in half. And then I'm going to go around, like I told y'all, and remove a lot of the excess paper that I can. That way I have it laying, straight on the edges that I need it. So now I'm just kind of trying to calculate how much I'm going to need to cut off some of these pieces and get each one to fit in the window pane correctly. And this right here is not hard, but you just need to go slow and kind of think about, how you want to design it and how it's going to fall on your window. And just depending on what kind of window you're using, if you're using a different kind of window or maybe a window that's a little bit larger, you may not have to do all this. But the type of design I did have to cut it in sections. So I did use my little razor blade and I did cut it in strips where I needed to. That way I just got a really good straight line. Now, again, on this window, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just working in sections, and I thought starting in the middle would probably be my best bet. So I've secured down that middle transfer first, and then I'm just going to keep on working on my window from there. And I'm just going to keep applying my transfers as I go, cutting them down into strips as I need to. I also want to mention, if you don't happen up on a window, say at a yard sale or maybe a thrift store, a large picture frame would also probably work. So look at the thrift stores if maybe you can find a very large, picture frame, or you could probably just use smaller picture frames too and maybe make a beautiful gallery wall. Just add some transfers to them, paint the backs of the glass, and I think they would make some beautiful wall decor. Now I'm working on the last section and we'll have this window finished up. I hope y'all have enjoyed seeing all these different windows and all the different ways that you can add decoupage paper, transfers, and just make them something really pretty for your home, and they make some beautiful wall decor. Just to give you another styling tip for your windows, I found this little wired shelf at Goodwill and I paid $6.99 for it. Added a little tiny nail to the top and I hung it up. Just to give you an idea of some embellishments that you can put on your windows just to add another level of detail to them. I hope y'all enjoyed the video today, and I hope y'all enjoyed seeing all the ways that you can upcycle old vintage windows. Now, if you're out at yard sales this summer, thrift stores, maybe you've got a friend that's remodeling a home, you may can get some old windows that way. So if you get some, make sure to have fun with them, because I know I had so much fun working on these. So I hope y'all got lots of ideas and inspiration on how to upcycle some old vintage windows to make some beautiful wall decor for your home. As always, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I really thank y'all for coming over and watching my video. Make sure to connect with me on all the social media, and I will plan to see y'all again next week with a new video. Bye, y'all.